Hi, welcome to Relationship Alchemy. And I am having Briana Dai back on the show because we started to get into such an interesting conversation. I wanted to have her back. And to remind you, Briana is an international brand makeover expert and social media branding phenom. As the creative director of eWomen Network, Briana's ideas are fresh, inspiring, and impactful, and have helped thousands of women, including me, elevate their brand image and social media strategy. She's a creative power strategist who enhances and elevates everything she touches. Her unique eye for design, combined with a vast range of skills, is as varied as her client list, which includes Mariah Carey, Leanne Rimes, Martina Navratilova, Dell, Famous Footwear, James Avery, ESPN, New York Fashion Week, and more. She is directing the creative future of marketing, branding, and communication for eWomen Network and the exciting celebrity science division clients of the company. So give us a little more background about you and we'll dive in.
Just like so dazed by your eyes right now. You're so beautiful.
Thank you. Back at you.
Thank you. I'm like, wait, what was the question? Sorry,
what was it? Who am I married? I don't remember.
Literally. No. So background. Just celebrated 8 years married, 11 years together, had our first kiss when I was 19 years old, and have been with this man ever since. And he's literally seen me grow through everything from being a starving actor in Los Angeles to launching my first beauty business, becoming a multi-serialpreneur, and now joining the family business, and has stood by me through it all. So it's been a really fun journey. Now we have a beautiful baby.
That's so amazing.
Growing. It's beautiful.
And how old is she again?
She's almost a year and a half.
Oh, she's so gorgeous. Yeah, I just adore her. I adore your pictures of her and your stories about her.
She's so fun. Her personality is just so big. I can't wait to see who she becomes. It's crazy. But yeah, that's a whole other conversation.
That's a whole other conversation. And so in our last conversation, which if you haven't seen it yet, go back and watch it. We had an amazing first conversation that has already been aired. And you began talking about the weekly check-in. I love how you put that. You said Tuesday is watering day. We water our plants and we water our marriage. And I'd love to go deeper in there and hear more about what that check-in looks like and what that does for you and how it works.
Totally. It's something that was game-changing for me in terms of being able to having a reason, an excuse to address things that maybe didn't get addressed in the moment. It can be hard when you don't address things in the moment to bring them back up again without it being awkward or instigative in some way, or feel like out of left field attack. And I am the personality type that likes to process my emotions sometimes when something is rubbing me wrong. And so I don't always, when something hits me the wrong way, I'm not always the one to immediately get into it. So that Tuesday watering day usually happens for us at dinner time. And we just know it's dinner. We're one of those couples that loves to eat in front of the TV and watch our show, but on Tuesdays we don't. And we will sit, or even if maybe that night been a long day for us and we do want to watch our show and just laugh off some Ted Lasso, which we're obsessed with right now. Such a feel-good show.
So good. And deep. Not just fluffy, like real stuff.
It's amazing how it's kind of built. I wasn't sure it was going to get that deep, but so even on those days we're like, okay, well, we still have to do our check-in. So we'll do that and then hop into it. But what it is it's really a process of just talking about the things that the stickouts of the week. So positives and maybe negatives, but not in a complaining way or an accusatory way. It's really from a standpoint of like growth. It's watering the marriage. So it's me sharing. We both go back and forth and share like, what are some things that you really appreciated this week that maybe didn't get addressed in the moment, because sometimes we don't acknowledge our appreciation for all the little things. So it forces us to think about, well, what didn't I acknowledge you for that I wish I that you should know that I really
I love
appreciated,
that.
that I'd love to
Yeah.
get more of even, I mean, you need to
Yep.
hear like this made me really happy and I would totally not be mad at you if you did that again,
Exactly.
And so that's usually how it starts. And we both share that. And then we kind of move into, okay, well, maybe what's something that conversely you could use a little less of, what
Yeah.
maybe didn't you love this week? And so it's kind of we talk about, it kind of bothered me when you said this way, in
Yeah.
the kitchen. Or, I kind of it's frustrating that I feel that sometimes this happens and I'd love it if moving forward you were a little more aware of how I feel when I'm getting the baby together and you kind of rely on me to give you specific direction. Like that was one
Yes.
of the things
Totally.
recently was,
Yeah.
okay, you rely on the specific direction because I got this, but internally I sometimes would feel like, well, you also know all of the things that need to happen to get this baby out the door. You do it without me all the time. So I'd
Yeah.
love it if you just were a little more proactive, even though I'm
Yes.
home and I can, because
Which
that
is a great request. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And he was like, fair. Okay, cool. And so for us, what that looked like was actually putting down some duties like, okay, well, when we're both home and we're trying to get out the door, who's doing what, so now there's no question,
Yes. That
it would
makes, that
really,
reduces friction.
yes. And then he's not wondering, okay, so he knows like, okay, I get the snacks together and I get the diapers
Yep.
together and make sure the diaper bag is ready to go because Brianna likes to pick out her outfit, kind of
Right.
thing.
Right.
But now we know our roles and
But
he
it's a
knows how to
great
help
division of
me.
labor. Yeah.
And I don't feel like I have to ask him directly every time, but he doesn't,
Yes.
assume that I got it all. So, anyways, they're generally all in the spirit of growth, not complaining or starting an
Yeah.
argument, but really what would make me happier the next week in my marriage and vice
Yeah.
versa. So we
Yeah.
both do that. And then we like to kind of end it on the note of, okay, well, what's something that happened this week outside of marriage that I don't know about?
Awesome. I love that. Say
And
more about that.
it's really usually something that happens around work for both of us. We both are working. We both have side hustles as well outside of work that are very consuming. And so we don't always touch on all the details, but it's been really fun because I mean, for years in our marriage, when someone asked me what my husband did, I couldn't really tell them. I
Right.
didn't really know. But what I
Yeah.
love about this weekly check-in is I know what my husband does and I
Yeah.
know the names of his coworkers and I know the woman that drives him crazy and the guy that he really jives with. And even though I've never seen their faces, it feels good to hear my husband say, somebody's first name and know who he's talking about. And it feels good
Yeah.
to be able to say, hey, what happened with so and so? Like, what happened with,
Exactly.
and now we have something to talk about that sometimes when you've been with somebody for so long and you live together, you do almost everything together, you feel like you know everything about each other. And it's fun to have something that we can fill each other in on and not know of. And so it kind of it forces us in the loop
Oh,
on things
yeah.
and creates
Yeah.
follow-up
I mean,
conversation that's
I
fun.
want to, exactly. I want to highlight just all the awesome things I hear in your check-in. First of all, I love that you start with an appreciation that you may not have shared yet. I really believe our relationships thrive with more appreciation of each other, And so starting with an appreciation sort of opens that door. You're already feeling connected. You're already feeling good with each other, learning something else that went well during the week. And then from that place, then you go to, this could be different, or I would like less of that, or next time, please do this. Right. So from that place that already feels good, then it's easier to go into like, well, this could be different. Would you mind changing XYZ or doing this differently? And then I really, really love that you have this piece of bringing something from outside the marriage into the marriage, because from my perspective, it keeps you connected to each other's lived experience outside of the little bubble of the three of you, like it helps you remember that each of you is a whole person with a whole life going on beyond being parents to Tati, right? So like that is so powerful, because I think over time, because you've already been in a relationship 11 years with each other, it bodes well over time to keep that remembrance of yourselves as whole people doing awesome things in the world that are beyond and in addition to your
Mhm.
family unit,
Mhm.
you
Yeah.
know? So I really celebrate that.
Well, that means a lot coming from you. I appreciate it. I like the notion too of having, because no one wants to start on a negative note, right? Because
Yeah.
that just kind of like doesn't feel good. To your point, that warm and fuzzy feeling of starting positive and acknowledgement kind
Yeah.
of makes you more open-minded to sometimes like harder feedback.
Yep.
And then sometimes it's hard to end on that feedback and then
Right.
carry on
You
with
don't
the
want to
night.
end on that.
Yeah. And so having something to transition to, whether it's a seamless transition and we move into that next stage of the check-in, or it's like okay, we need to put a period on this and move
Like,
on. Like the work, we've said our piece, like carry on, and sometimes it's
yes.
just that. And it's like, okay, noted. So tell me
Thank
about,
you.
yeah,
Right. Right.
you know,
Exactly. And
and
that's
it's
actually a
nice.
great practice I want to highlight for listeners too, is when you are giving feedback, or telling your partner something that you want to change, it's okay to not discuss that to death. Like, it's okay to say the thing that you want changed, and for the recipient to say thank you, noted, fair, whatever, and then move on.
Yeah.
Because I think sometimes we can fall into this hole of processing, whole HOLE of processing that
Uh-huh.
just gets never ending. And that's not really great either.
It doesn't feel good.
Doesn't
Like
feel good.
I'm
Yeah.
like, sometimes I'm like, dude, like I got it.
I got it. Like, got it. Enough.
Yeah, we'll
Like,
try better next time. Check in next week.
exactly. Check.
Yeah.
Totally. So one of the other things you talked about in our shorter episode was really what a big change it was for the two of you when you were pregnant,
Yeah.
and how you were both surprised by just the depth of the change for you in particular emotionally. Of course, he
Yeah.
had to process emotionally too, but just how that threw you for a loop, and really was a challenge in your marriage that you had to work through to get back to being as connected and thriving as you are now.
For
And
sure.
would you say a bit about the work you did, like what worked to help you shift? You can say a little about the background of what
Hmm.
came up and what happened, but then how did you work through that to get reconnected again? Because I think it's so important for people to hear these stories of reconnection when
Yeah.
there's been a challenge, because it's hard to do.
Yeah. So I think the context of the timing is really important in our story and how it impacted our marriage too, because I found out I was pregnant in December of 2019. And
Hmm.
so I got through like my first trimester and everything was great. And then I started my second trimester and COVID hit and the world shut down. So dramatic changes happening there, which impacted everything from Travis coming to my hospital visits and seeing Tati
Oh,
develop and
yeah.
sonograms, and being really a part of the growth of this baby and getting to experience all of the things that typically historically like partners have been able to be a part of. And so I think that was a big factor that really also threw us through a loop. But it really robbed him of that feeling of closeness, because men already kind of struggle to feel close. So you've like got this child
Yeah,
growing inside of you. You're having all these feelings and like, you know, experiences that they can't have. And so the little bit that they do get to experience really matters for a man to kind of get that level of excitement and closeness that a woman feels and connection to the baby.
absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
so, and then you throw in the stress of COVID and all of that. It's just like, what is going on? So, I definitely had a really great first trimester. It was one of those things where I found out I was pregnant. I thought I was just PMSing, and I sure enough was not PMSing.
Not.
And I'm having a baby, which was a shocker to me. And I knew it would be a shocker to him too. And while we both were excited about it, as that initial excitement wears off and the reality sets in. And my husband's very like analytical, logistical, finance major, numbers. So naturally he's like, college, cars,
Crunching the numbers.
lifestyle,
Yeah.
stress, anxiety attack, so it didn't take long for that warm and fuzzy feeling to wear off of him just by his
Yeah.
nature. And our marriage, our dynamic has always been, I'm the hype girl. Like I'm the positive energy. I am like the yin to his yang. I am the balancing out of, I'm like, it's all going to be okay. Everything is fine. And I
Yeah.
discovered that I really changed when I got pregnant from like a
Mm.
fundamental place. We are evolving beings. And I quickly realized like I'm no longer a physical touch love language. I'm a words of affirmation love language.
Wow.
Like that shift happened, and it happened subconsciously. I didn't know it then, but so there were things that he was used to being able to do for me that meant a lot to me that weren't the things that really meant a lot to me anymore. I didn't know how to voice that because I didn't even know it was happening. I just knew that
Wow.
I wasn't feeling like I was being like he was there for me the way I needed him to be there for me while I was pregnant. And I just got kind of depressed between
Yeah.
everything, him kind of losing his excitement about the baby, to COVID happening and him not being able to be a part of all of the things, so the distance even further, and then not being able to articulate why his attempts of showing love weren't resonating with me.
Yes.
And so there was this level of division that kind of started to happen during the pregnancy, which is also terrifying because you're like,
We're about to do this massive thing together. Like,
and we're not in the best place right now. Like, what is going
exactly.
on? We need to get it together. It was
Yeah.
scary for us. And so,
Yeah.
those check-ins really did help, because it was in talking through that's when, that what was subconsciously happening, like with the shift in love languages and what I needed from him, really started to come out when I was
Mm.
forced to try to articulate it, and why things weren't, hitting me the way that they used to, or resonating with me the way they used to. So the check-ins were huge. And I think just the development piece, because you are evolving, and motherhood
Yeah.
changes you, fatherhood changes you. And luckily, it's true what they say, like when a man holds a baby in his arms, like a mother becomes a mother the minute she finds out she's pregnant, and a man becomes a father the minute he holds his child. There's like a
Yes.
phrase like that. And it's totally true. Because Travis told Tati, and it's like I just saw this like light shift, like this
Oh,
total like new man like just emerged. I have this phenomenal photograph from my C-section. I had an emergency C-section, and the
mm.
nurse captured this image like the minute the doctor held her over the curtain. He locked eyes with Tati for the first time, and the expression on his face I have on a photo, and it is the most
Oh,
magical thing I've ever seen. Makes
that
me
is
like
so beautiful.
emotional just to think about it. So I
Yeah.
think that her coming into the
Mm.
world changed us. And then and keeping up with those check-ins, and just recognizing like we can't approach things the way we've always done them, because we're not the same people we've always been anymore.
I'd love to thank you. That was so beautifully articulated. I so appreciate that. And I think that will resonate with a lot of people, because I think that's true for a lot of people, and it's not something we talk about enough. So
No.
thank you for talking about it. And I want to segue from there to how beautifully you post about your relationship, both your relationship, but also Tati, like how the feeling over here when I see your Instagram is real. Like you're sharing the ups, the downs, the fun, the play, the occasional like, and was that hard for Travis to sort of get behind? Was it natural? My partner is not super into being visible. And
Yeah.
so I post about us, but I don't, sort of have him up front and center all the time,
Yeah.
because it's just not his thing. He's not
Right.
on social media much. He doesn't post himself very much. And so I'm curious how you've navigated that as a couple, because you're very much in the public eye.
Hmm.
And so, of course, he is, because he's with you. And has that been a challenge? And how have you worked through that?
Yes, it's been a challenge. And it's been a lot of conversation and just understanding the boundaries. And now we're so in tune with it that I think I just have a heightened awareness of when it is and isn't appropriate. I can
Mm.
feel the energy. I think it's just Awareness
Yeah.
is the biggest thing. And I'm aware of his boundaries, and I can read when he's not feeling it,
Yeah.
and I don't
And
overlook it.
it sounds like you
I
respect that.
respect it. I
Yeah, that's
respect it.
key. That's key.
And he also has to respect, right, that, yes, I've chosen to have this platform that's it's a lifestyle platform. I share my lifestyle with our community, and that comes with some lifestyle perks that he is the beneficiary of as
Absolutely,
well.
because you have
So
sponsorships and
yeah, I
all
mean,
of that has come out of that.
yes. And so, so he understands that and is supportive of that and as well. So he conversely respects that sometimes, he does have to like suck it up and do some things, but we have really good communication about it. And when
Yeah.
I need his support on something, I tend to approach him about it to make sure. And if he's like got any resistance towards it, it's just not the time.
Yeah.
It's just not the time. But we definitely have like unspoken moments of like, we're not doing this. You will probably never see a video of us during dinner. I mean, I might
Yeah.
take a quick snap and then the phone is gone, but I don't
Yes.
document those conversations. And there's plenty of really funny moments that would probably be really viral if I did, but they're ours,
Yeah. That's
So
beautiful that you have that balance and teamwork. Like what I keep flashing on in my head when I'm hearing you talk, both about the check-ins and about working through the pregnancy, and here with the social media, the lifestyle kind of visibility piece, is it sounds like you've really worked out how to be a great team with one another, and that the
yeah.
center is communication. Would you say that that's accurate?
Oh my gosh. Yeah. 100%. And I feel like that's it's what you always hear. It's easier said than done, right?
Yeah.
But we are a
Takes work.
team. We are a
Yeah.
team, and we want the same things at the end of the day, like we both
Yeah.
want a happy, healthy, thriving relationship. And so I think that knowing that and going into that, it's not about me, it's about us being this unit that's thriving and setting a great example for Tati about what
Yeah.
a good relationship should look like.
Yep.
That's been the other really special thing, I think, for men to have daughters. It's a special thing because
Yes.
they start to look at their relationship through the eyes of, I'm setting the example of what my daughter is going to allow a man to treat her like, you know?
Amen. Yes.
And
That's such a key awareness to have
I
as a
mean,
dad.
and Travis has always been amazing. He's always treated me amazing. We wouldn't have gotten this far if we didn't.
Right.
And I've certainly noticed a mental shift in him just in the
Mm.
way he approaches certain situations. It's definitely made us both better people, becoming
Yeah.
parents and how we show up for each other.
Oh, God, that's so, speaking of better people, that's so gorgeous. And I know that there are a couple of books that helped you along the way.
Mm-hmm.
What were those? Would you tell those? Because I think it's really helpful for people to know resources to turn
Yeah,
to.
no, absolutely. So the number one best one I have to say has been Growing Yourself Back Up by John Lee. It
Mm.
was game changing. And so much about what I shared in terms of shifting and becoming different through my pregnancy, becoming a different woman, your wants and your desires can change, but
Yeah.
also your dislikes and the things that stress you can change. And
Mm.
so you do all this self work to figure out how to, eliminate or manage your toxic traits that we all inevitably have. But what happens when you change and these new toxic traits come out? And so Growing Yourself Back Up is a book that really helps you digest when you regress to like
Mm.
toxic traits, or like like how to identify maybe like childhood triggers that are coming out,
Exactly.
and how to grow yourself back up in those
Yeah.
moments, because we're
Yeah.
evolving. And now that we're parents, we have new things that stress us out or frustrate us, or just new problems, new feelings. I mean, even the
Exactly.
question of
And
daycare
really,
versus nanny, I mean,
yeah. Yeah.
that's an argument that brought out childhood stuff that we never had to discuss before. So how do you
Yeah.
grow yourself back up in these
Yes.
situations?
I love that, the awareness of that. You have to grow yourself back up in every new situation
Yeah.
where anytime you get activated and revert back to childhood behaviors or beliefs or experiences, that every time you got to grow yourself. It's not a one and done. Like you got to do it over and over and over again.
Yeah, and it's so
That's a
aligned
great
with you.
awareness.
I'm just
Yeah.
realizing like it's all the things that you preach too, because it's growing yourself back up, not growing your partner back up. And so
Amen. Yeah.
it's about yourself, but
Yeah.
the impact it's had in my marriage has been profound. And that's everything that you preach and you teach
Yeah.
so well is about how
Thank
it
you.
starts with you.
It
And that's
does.
really what this kind of talks about too. But yeah, it's so true
I
when you
love
do it
that.
yourself.
And what was the other book that really helped you?
I also love The Gifts of Imperfection by
Oh,
Brene
yes.
Brown.
I love that book.
It's so good. It's so
Yeah.
good,
For those of us who are super perfectionistic and strivers, and it's great to remember that our vulnerabilities matter, that people want to know the real us, the ups, the downs, the all of it, right? Would you
Yeah.
say that that was key for you?
Key for me, really key for my husband. He comes from a family
Mm,
where he really like he is the epitome of like perfectionist, and there's
mm,
nothing that can you don't do things halfway. Like if I'm going to
yeah.
do a sport, I'm going to be the best at it, everything in life. And for him to that book was particularly profound for him,
Oh,
because like I
so
said, we're the
cool.
yin to the yang. So I feel like
Yeah.
the gifts of imperfection were the best for him. And growing yourself back up has
Back
been the
up.
most impactful for me. And that's
I love
good.
it. That's
Yeah.
beautiful. So, what's the best way for folks to reach you to learn more about your work, possibly work with you?
Yeah. Well, you can always hit me up on the gram. I'm always there. Shoot me a direct message. Let's talk. Both myself, eWomen Network is where you're going to find eWomen Network's Instagram or social media channels where you're going to find more of like my professional, content. But me as a person, I would love to have a conversation with you. So that's probably the easiest, fastest way to get connected for sure.
That's great. And I'll put that link in the show notes to that. And I understand you also have a free gift for our audience. What's that, and how do they access that?
Yeah, so we talked a lot about stories. I love to share my story, my life story. I think that as a girl boss, a woman in business, there's no doubt that much of the success of UM Network has been in our family being a front and center focus of that, and sharing
Mm,
our life, our story, our dynamic has really impacted our growth. And even my own personal brand. So when it comes to sharing stories, I find people get really stumped really easily. So I've put together 10 Instagram story prompts to kind of help you get unstuck so that you can share your story and do it more authentically to create a deeper community on social media.
I love that. I'm excited to get that.
It's
So
good.
I'll put the link to that in the show notes as well. And I
Yay.
just want to thank you so much for coming on today. As always, I love talking with you. Every chance we get to connect,
It's
I just
always
feel
a good
so lit
time.
up and connected with you. And thanks for being here.
Likewise, I could listen to your voice all day, Marie Elizabeth. Just keep
Oh,
talking to
thank you
me.
so much. We can make a recording and you can play it as you're falling asleep.
Yeah, no, literally. Can you do that? I'd buy it. Give me the meditation. I need
That's
it.
it. That's it. Yeah, there you go. Well, this has been Relationship Alchemy. Thank you all for watching and listening. And until next time, remember, a great relationship starts with you.